Hey everyone, welcome to the road to Avengers 5.
In this series, I'm going back every single month and revisiting a previous MCU movie and making updated custom LEGO minifigures to make them as accurate to the movies as possible. Alright guys, the road to Avengers 5 continues on, and this month we made it to Thor Ragnarok. If you haven't checked out the previous videos in the MCU leading up to this, make sure you don't miss out on those. Come on guys. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos as we head toward Avengers 5 and make customs from every MCU movie along the way. So, let's get into it. Well, interestingly enough, the movie starts with that epic Skurge battle, and as of this video coming out, the official Thor Ragnarok Skurge battle set that comes out in 2024 is not out yet. So, needless to say, to build Skurge and to build Thor from this scene, I would just recommend that you get this set, but unfortunately, it's not out yet, and I don't have it. And, you know, these videos are coming out in a timely fashion, so I don't have any choice but to tell you to wait till this set comes out to get that, and now we'll start making the customs. Okay, so up first is Skurge, and I actually have not changed the design on this too terribly much since years ago. The only thing I changed out is making his shoulder piece a little more simplistic here, and of course that comes from Ninjago with, you know, that shoulder armor. He's got dark red arms with black hands, a little axe in his hand here, I think from Lord of the Rings if I'm not mistaken, but the torso and legs come from Shade from Ninjago, and the head comes from General Zod from Man of Steel. Now we've got the acting scene where the actors are actually playing Loki, Thor, and Odin respectively. For Odin, I flipped around the torso and used the legs from the Dune Ornithopter set to get that gold dress look that he has on. And since Sam Neill played him in this scene, and we do have an old man Sam Neill bearded face from Jurassic World Dominion, I used that with the Doc Brown pushed back hair. For Thor, I used those dual molded legs I always use for Thor with the new torso from the 2012 version of Thor. This head, I wanted to make it close enough to Thor, but different enough that it isn't a head that's ever been used for Thor. So what I used there is a head from the Queer Eye set with a more modern Thor hairpiece. And then I used the CMF Loki hairpiece, although it did come with the Loki from Avengers Tower, as well as the Quinjet, which is where the torso, legs, and cape come from. And the head comes from Joey from the Friends TV series sets. Now that brings us to New York City, where Thor and Loki end up meeting up with Doctor Strange before they ultimately find Odin. Doctor Strange, I used the No Way Home version here, but of course I gave him the yellow hands for the gloves he's wearing, and I gave him these printed arms from the CMF Sailor just to add a little bit of extra detail to the figure. I always thought that that looked really good. For Thor, the hair and head come from modern versions of Thor. The torso comes from Rain Delacourt from Jurassic World. Of course, I gave him a butterbeer piece from Harry Potter, since that's what Doctor Strange fixes him up to drink. He's got dark blue legs for jeans, and of course, Mjolnir is turned into an umbrella, and that's what we used here as well. For Loki, I used this torso that came from one of the Shanghai gangsters from Indiana Jones, although any black suit will do you just fine. Then the head and hair come from the more modern versions of Loki, which it doesn't really matter if it's the CMF or Avengers Tower, but either way, gives you some options. Alright, up next we've got Odin in his earthly attire, and, you know, for years and years and years, I really didn't want to use the head from Reinhardt from Overwatch because the scarred eye is on the wrong side. But it doesn't look like LEGO's going to give us a better option anytime soon, so I finally caved after all this time and decided to use it. So the head and hair come from Reinhardt, and the torso and legs come from Aldrich Killian from Iron Man 3. Up next, of course, is Hela, and I do think it's kind of crazy that in all the years, I last did my Thor Ragnarok showcase like 5 or 6 years ago, it's really hard to make any updates beyond what we got. Now, in that one, I did use some legs from Lloyd from Ninjago to add some green, but honestly, I do think that just the black legs look better. Of course, we've got a dark green cape on there to help add to the look, and if we lift the hair up and we flip the head around, you can see she's got like this black mask on, and of course, no Hela would be complete without the Hela headpiece, which is where a lot of this figure's value comes from, which is crazy. The only other thing I added are these printed arms from Korra from Tron Legacy. That way it kind of looks like her shoulders are exposed, and it looks really, really accurate for what we see in the movie. Alright, up next we've got Valkyrie, Topaz, and the Grandmaster. Yes, yes. Gotta love my Jeff Goldblum impression. In fact, years ago, I got to meet Jeff Goldblum in Los Angeles and give him the Grandmaster minifigure. I made a whole video talking about that experience, so I'll link it here, and you can check that out if you're interested. But to build the customs, Valkyrie is just the official Valkyrie figure that LEGO gave us not too long ago, so no upgrades needed there. Topaz uses a flipped-around torso from one of the AIM agents from a couple years back, but she's got tan hands and the head and hair combo from Helen Cho from the Avengers Tower, although both of those pieces have come in other places. Then for Grandmaster, we're using the official Grandmaster torso and head with some receding gray hair that's come in City as well as Doctor Who. The legs come from 2012 Loki, the original one, and his one arm here, if we turn it on the side, you can see it's got some gold printing on there that's shining in my studio light, and that comes from the genie from Aladdin. Alright, now we're getting into the Gladiator side of the movie, and that brings us Korg, Meek, and of course Gladiator Thor. This is the minifigure LEGO gave us in 2017 with the red cape on there. Really great figure. Tough to add too much more than that. Then Korg and Meek are exactly the way that they came in the Avengers Endgame Final Battle accessory pack that was exclusive to the LEGO store a number of years ago. It's retired now and getting kind of hard to find. And that Korg minifig looks so good that I could see him going up in value as time goes by, but you never know. Alright, up next we've got Heimdall, who I think still looks pretty good. The only thing I've updated over the years is the head. This head was used on a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent in the Avengers Tower, as well as the Queer Eye set, as well as Daryl from the Dunder Mifflin Office set. The torso is flipped around, but the torso and legs come from Taserface from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with a sword and a brown cape. Oh yeah, and the hair comes from Tasu Leech from Star Wars. So, I've been building Stan Lee from every movie, and of course in this one, he's the hairdresser, so I gave him some scissors here, with the flipped-around torso from Star-Lord, with Star-Lord's legs, the Rocket Raccoon polybag printed arms, which aren't necessary, but I did think they were interesting, and the head is a custom head made by Firestar Toys with pushback gray hair for that Excelsior Stan Lee look. Alright, now we'll check in with our friend from work with Gladiator Hulk. You know, it's impossible to make this figure better than what we got with that helmet and the completely unique molded arm on the side here with the printing on the torso. Come on, guys, it doesn't get much better than this, and this figure has only gotten more and more awesome with time. It's hard to believe LEGO went this epic with it back in the day, but hey, you'll never hear me complaining. Alright, for some odds and ends while we're on Sakaaran, back in 2017, we did get this Sakaaran warrior army guy. I don't know what you'd call him, but it's worth throwing him in here because he was an official LEGO figure from Sakaaran. And of course, we've got Loki from Sakaaran, who I gave dual molded legs to with blue on top, black on bottom. And I gave him the more modern Loki hair from the CMF as well as Avengers Tower and the Quinjet, just to make it a little more accurate since LEGO's given us a better piece since the one that came out in 2017. When it comes to Bruce Banner, the figure that we got back in the day wasn't all that accurate. You know, he's got the Duran Duran shirt on in the movie, but I still think this figure portrays it decently well enough, and maybe I just have a lot of nostalgia goggles for it, but I just can't bring myself to use another figure in its place, so let's go ahead and keep it classic and use this figure from back in the day. At the end of the movie, Hulk doesn't have the Gladiator armor on, but he does participate in the final battle, and while we don't have a perfect Hulk for that scenario, I do think that the Endgame Hulk is probably the closest we've got in terms of, like, the color of Hulk as well as, you know, his pants here. I do think it works the best for what we've got, and it's what I would recommend here. And finally, we've got Thor from the end of the movie, and I did break the purist method here, guys. I took one of the lightning eyes Thors and just a little bit of red and black Sharpie to mess up his eye, and of course giving him the short hair really makes for an incredible figure. I guess at the end of the movie, he technically wouldn't have the red cape on, but regardless, I do still think it looks really awesome. So with that being said, let's round out the showcase and call it a day. Alright guys, be sure to hit like and subscribe in the comments down below. If you haven't already, check out the other videos in this showcase series, and I'll see you guys on the next video.